What's up, guys? We had an incredible week of Senior Bowl practices. This is where draft boards start moving, players are rising, players are falling, GMs are really putting in a ton of work. All week long, we've seen some standout performances, some one on one reps that actually matter, and players like Caleb Banks who came here with something to prove. They had their chance in front of NFL GMs and scouts, coaches, all of them were in the building, and make no mistake, a lot of players stood out. And what really jumped out to me was the defensive line talent in this draft class. Edge rushers flashing their elite traits, interior defenders wrecking practices, and multiple guys playing their way into day one and day two conversations. This group is deep, explosive, and absolutely loaded. So today we're breaking down who stood out the most on day three of Senior Bowl practices. Let's get right into it. First up is the national team, where early on in the day it was TCU defensive back Bud Clark making multiple big time plays. Stacking on a big practice he had from yesterday, he's a late round safety prospect that showed off his man coverage skills. And when he got to team drills, he showed his range in center field, coming up with a big time leaping interception. Keep an eye on Bud Clark. Keep an eye on Bud Clark. He's one of my sleepers from this week for sure. Another DB that caught my eye was Thaddeus Dixon, the corner from North Carolina, had a good day. Two linebackers really stood out as well. Jacob Rodriguez continued his solid week of practice, and Kyle Luis, a linebacker from Pitt, had an awesome day as well. Another guy who just continues impressing me, though, is Clemson edge rusher TJ Parker. I really hope he plays on Saturday. He's had an awesome week at practice. Another defensive tackle caught my eye as well. Florida State's Daryl Jackson. This guy is a sleeper. After having a big week at the Shrine Bowl, he comes over and impresses at the Senior Bowl. Another guy to keep an eye on. And when you're talking about standouts, you can't do it without mentioning Texas Tech defensive tackle Lee Hunter. He had multiple sacks in team drills today, and he was double teamed almost all day long. He did lose in a compete drill to Bo Stevens at the end of practice, which brings me to the offensive side of the ball for this national squad. The Iowa interior lineman lost some reps on day one, but he fought back hard yesterday and he was dominant throughout most of day three. He put Lee Carter to the turf with a snatch move to end the day with everyone watching. The Iowa offensive lineman was one of the players of the day. The other offensive lineman that caught my eye, though, was Sam Hecht from Kansas State. He was shutting down this impressive group of defensive tackles, and he really caught my eye today. On to the American squad, though, where the theme of the day were teammates. There were two Florida guys, two Oklahoma guys, and two Boston College teammates all stood out. You could probably say the same for Michigan or a handful of other schools as well. But starting out their practice, it was Cincinnati receiver Cyrus Allen. He's quietly been making plays all week long, and he continued that trend today. I had to mention his name. But the receiver of the week for the American squad is Malachi Fields. You'll probably end up seeing his name pop up at the end of some first round mocks. That's how impressive he was, but he's at least a second round pick if you ask me. Another player that stood out that I have to mention, Miami's offensive tackle Markel Bell. He got better each day, and he really battled against this DT class. There is an offensive lineman that I forgot to mention that's also had a great week, Boston College's Jude Bowery. He played on both right and left sides, and he really stood out, had some awesome interviews as well. And then I got to talk about the Oklahoma teammates. Linebacker Owen Heineke made some plays in team drills, and his teammate, defensive tackle Grayson Holton, made multiple splash plays today. Definitely a guy that impressed scouts. Now, safety Jalen Kilgore made some crushing hits. He was awesome against the run, but he looked solid in coverage as well. Michigan edge rusher Derek Moore, next up on my list. He continues impressing me. He was making life hard on every offensive tackle he went against. I think Moore is a guy to watch out for in the game on Saturday. He could end up wrecking the day for the national team. That's something to watch. And then there were the Florida teammates, Caleb Banks and Tyreek Sapp. Both were in the offense's backfield most of the day. Banks looks fully healthy and ready to contribute. He's looking more and more like a first round pick. He's number 39 on Daniel Jeremiah's big board. He got better each day. And an event where normally offensive tackles are winning at the end of the week, Banks was making these guys look silly at times today. He had several standout reps, and he was my player of the day for the American squad. Finally, there was a quarterback that stood out today on the American team. Illini QB Luke Altmaier looked really solid. He was operating the offense, getting rid of the football quickly, and making some accurate throws as well. LSU's Garrett Nussmeier was okay, but the American team's quarterbacks clearly played better. Both teams have very strong defensive lines, but hopefully the quarterbacks can step it up on game day because they're going to be under pressure from this defensive line class. I think we'll see some big plays at linebacker as well, where a couple of guys stood out. Keep an eye on the running backs once we get to the game, but these defensive lines are going to make things tough in pass protection. The class is simply loaded. What a week of practice it's been, guys. I will note that these evaluations, they're what stood out while I was watching practice and taking notes. I will, however, be going back and looking at the tape and taking a deeper look at some players. And I will be back to talk about the guys who really stood out on the film. Look out for that. Let me know if there's a player you guys want to know more about. I could do full player breakdowns on some of these guys. Hit that like button for me and stay tuned for year round draft coverage.